Good morning. It is September 13th, 2023. We're going to be doing some real propaganda today because yesterday the Biden impeachment inquiry launched. So, of course, the first thing we're going to talk about is not the thing going on in our country, but floods in Libya. And I'm sure climate change is going to play a role in this. Hold on to your butts. This one's going to be fun. Today's propagandists are David Leonhardt and Lauren Jackson. More than 5,200 dead. The initial floods in northeastern Libya after torrential rain this past weekend were bad enough, but the worst of the damage was not a result of those floods. It has instead come from the subsequent bursting of two dams near the coastal city of Derna. And that is directly as the result of the coup that the Obama administration launched that turned Libya into a failed state, which has not taken care of anything. So you can blame Obama, but they're going to blame climate change. And even though they admit that dams burst, and the dams burst because of poor maintenance, and the reason there's poor maintenance is because there are tribal leaders ruling the country. There's open slave markets in there. But yeah, let's blame climate change. The waters that those dams had been holding back washed entire neighborhoods into the sea. Officials said tall buildings fell into the mud, trapped residents under rubble. At least 5,200 people have died and thousands more are missing. The situation is catastrophic, the Derna City Council said in a Facebook post. Derna is pleading for help. The chain of events, first a major storm, followed by a collapse of infrastructure that made the situation far worse, reminded experts of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans almost 20 years ago. Yeah, and the same reasons. Incompetence is it's always what causes it. Today's newsletter gives you the latest from Libya with help from our colleague Viva Nirmin, the Times correspondent, and Mohammed Abdussameh, who is in Tripoli. The rescue effort. Medical teams have flown to Libya to help search for survivors and treat the injured, but rescue efforts have been slow because of flooding cut off roads into Derna. Workers from Turkey and the United Arab Emirates arriving yesterday in Benghazi, a city more than 180 miles away. The Libyan government in Tripoli has also sent supplies, including body bags and medical equipment, to Benghazi, but it is not clear if supplies have reached the most affected areas. The Derna City Council called for safe shipping route to the city and for international intervention. Why would you need a safe shipping route? The answer to that is because the terrorists that still rule that are attacking people. That's how bad it is in Libya right now. President Biden said the U.S. would send emergency funds to relief organizations and that it would coordinate with the UN and Libyan authorities. Emmanuel Macron, France's leader, announced financial and other aids for organizations working in Libya. There it is. Climate change. Scientists say that climate change may have increased the severity of the storm that caused the flooding. That's a flat-out lie. A Mediterranean cyclone named Daniel, though climate change is likely making Mediterranean cyclones less common, it is intensifying those that do form. That's just speculation. There's no evidence to back that up. Making matters worse, Libyans are especially vulnerable. Libya is ill-prepared to handle the effects of climate change and extreme weather, said Malik Al-Taib, an environmental expert. So he's just a liar because Libya is vulnerable because of the fact that their warlords control, because Obama destroyed the functioning government that was there. Most Libyans live in coastal areas at risk of flooding as sea levels rise. Towns along dry riverbeds can also flood rapidly when heavy rain falls, and the parched earth struggles to absorb it. This is going to happen more and more as the climate warms, said Matthew Brubash, I don't care, an expert on Libyan climate change. Everything is falling apart. So just Libyan climate change. See, now they're just making stuff up. Political instability. Since Muammar Gaddafi's government was ousted in 2011 by Obama and Hillary Clinton, we saw, he died. Libya has lacked a strong central government. Instead, two rival factions have struggled for control: an internationally recognized government based in Tripoli in the west and another group in the east whose domain includes the flooded area. And that's why, remember I said they need a safe passage? Yeah, because there's slave markets and terrorists and murder, and it's a failed state, thanks to Obama. As Daniel approached, the authorities in eastern Libya, who have limited resources, seem to have no plan to monitor the dams and evacuate residents, experts said. For the past 10 years, there really hasn't been much investment in the country's infrastructure, said Claudia Gazzini of the International Crisis Group. More flooding still seems possible. Yesterday, the mayor of Torca, 120 miles from Derna, warned on local television channel that another dam was at risk of collapse. Floodwaters swept through other eastern settlements, displacing at least 20,000 people. See photos of the devastation and maps. Libyans have posted on Facebook groups begging for information about their missing loved ones. Okay, so here we go. So the Biden impeachment inquiry, one of the biggest things ever. Now, when Trump got impeached and they didn't allege a crime, they dedicated the whole newsletter to it. But now, when there's actual crimes alleged, we're going to get just a little blurb, and every single one is going to be a denial, too. Kevin McCarthy, the House Speaker, opened an impeachment inquiry into Biden. Republicans have so far failed to find evidence of wrongdoing. That's absolutely false. They found $20 million worth of money that cannot be explained. They have evidence galore from Tony Bobulinski and from Devin Archer. They have laptop from hell, Miranda Devine's work into it. We have Hunter's laptop, which contains evidence of corruption and of access and selling, all kinds of crimes. So no, there's tons of evidence into wrongdoing. Also, there's evidence that Biden didn't turn in the classified documents. Remember, you're indicting Trump for it, so you should impeach Biden for it too. McCarthy is trying to appease far-right Republicans who have threatened to oust him as Speaker over government spending and his failure to do a lot of other things that he promised he would do. Where's the 41,000 hours of footage from January 6th, McCarthy? You said you'd release it. He accused Biden of lying about his son Hunter's business dealings. There's little to back up the allegations. There's tons to back up the allegations. I just mentioned it. It's in Miranda Devine's book. We've known this for like 3 years now, that this information was there. Hunter has admitted, and so has Joe, that they did talk about business, but Joe said they didn't in the 2020 election, so he was lying. We've caught him lying multiple times. There's a lot of evidence to back this up, including Biden's multiple aliases, Robert L. Peters and the other ones that did message by his son, Hunter. So yes, there is evidence. The Speaker announced an inquiry unilaterally without a House vote. You mean like the Democrats did twice? Some Republicans who represent districts that Biden won have misgivings. Really? Do they now? Now that's interesting. Notice they didn't mention any names there. And Biden won the fewest number of districts of any president ever. He won like 400, 500 counties out of 2,500. This dude is the least popular president in all of history. He has the fewest number of people voting for him. They might have concentrated it because of like New York and California, so you had a whole bunch of extra ballots, so it makes it seem like he's popular. But remember, he only won by 42,000 votes spread across 3 states. Donald Trump has been privately encouraging Republicans to impeach Biden. I mean, pretty much everybody has been encouraging the Republicans to impeach Biden. Biden may be the most corrupt president ever. We keep finding more evidence of bribes. $20 million so far, and that's just what we know about. I mean, there's tons of stuff. We haven't even seen the bank account records yet because the Republicans have been slow-walking everything, doing everything they can to help him. I don't think McCarthy's going to do anything here. This is just to make sure that Biden gets away with it and serves out his term. And he's not going to be the nominee next year. The war in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un met in eastern Russia for a summit in which they were expected to discuss arming Russian troops. Russia has overcome Western sanctions to expand its missile production. So that's it. That's all we're going to mention on there. So nothing about the offensive or anything else like that. So things must be going poorly. Morocco earthquake. King Mohammed VI, Morocco's leader, has kept a low profile after the earthquake. Some said that slowed rescue efforts. I don't see how. Though citizens are frustrated with earthquake response, criticisms of the king can have serious consequences. That's probably why. Many Moroccans are eager for visitors to keep coming to support the economy and fund relief. Yeah. Economy. Poverty spiked in the U.S. last year, more than doubling among children as prices rose and federal aid programs expired. They keep doing this. They keep talking about this. This was a big thing yesterday to say on Twitter, was the Republicans, Manchin and Sinema, have let the child tax credit expire and thus increase child poverty. There's no such thing as child poverty. There are no poor children. There are poor parents, but they're not poor children. Children aren't working. They're not in the economy. So they're not poor, middle class, or upper class. They're just the children of people who are poor, middle class, or upper class. So what you're talking about is the poverty among the adults, not the children. And the tax cuts have to come with they have to be paid for somehow. So that's paid for with more inflation, which just means we all suffer more. So those, when you talk about it's doubled among children because the tax credits were taken away, what you're talking about is poverty for the parents. Is they're no longer getting the government benefits. But if you keep giving them the government benefits, prices will keep going up, and then they'll have less spending money anyway. So what are you doing? You're not helping. In the opening of a major antitrust trial, the government argued Google eliminated competitors by paying to be the default search engine on phones. 8 more companies that work on artificial intelligence agreed to follow the White House's voluntary safeguards for the technology. I don't I don't have a lot of faith in that. Apple's newest iPhone will use USB-C ports, the same charger as many MacBooks. The reason why they're doing this is because the EU has forced them. Otherwise, they can't sell iPhones. Otherwise, they'd keep doing it. And what's interesting to note about the USB-C change is that Apple is still making you pay $130 for a cable that will unlock the full potential of it. Any other cable, and it won't let you use the full data transfer. So, and if it's the cheaper version of the phone, they limit it to the same speed as Lightning. Lightning is like 480 megabits per second. USB-C is like 3 gigabits per second, and they won't let you use it. So Apple proving they're the most greedy company in the world. You should not be buying any Apple products ever. Bernard Looney resigned as BP's chief executive after failing to disclose past relationships with colleagues. The CDC recommended that all Americans 6 months and older get at least one dose of the latest corona vaccine. The shots will be available within days. I'm not going to comment because Google took down a previous video of mine. So, a decongestant using cold medicines from Sudafed, Tylenol, and others doesn't work. An FDA panel said, see what you can use instead. What doesn't work? Because if they're going to say pseudoephedrine, that's not true. It works. Well, but which one is it? It doesn't say. Let's see. What's the ingredient? Oh, okay. Phenylphthalein. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, pseudoephedrine is the stuff that works. So everything else they tried to change out to stop the meth heads from making meth. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of that stuff doesn't work. Okay, so other big stories. A fire broke out in a 9-story apartment block in Hanoi, killing more than 30. 5 former Memphis police officers accused of brutally beating Tyree Nichols were indicted on federal charges over his death. And we're not going to riot over that because remember, they're black, so there's no reason to riot. But if they were white, there'd be mass riots. New York City, and the answer to that policing, too, is, by the way, better training for them and more funding. Pay them better. Can't really expect them to risk their lives for the pittance that you're giving them, and they also have to face the consequences of any action that you claim they've done wrong. New York City's pension funds sued Fox, saying that by broadcasting falsehoods about the 2020 election and risking lawsuits, it neglected its duty to shareholders. That's just absurd. You mean by broadcasting, by asking questions about an obviously fraudulent election? As much as $135 billion in unemployment benefits paid during the pandemic could have been claimed illegally. Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot more than that. We knew that. I mean, you opened the door for massive corruption. Supreme Court can earn back some legitimacy by forcing Alabama to comply with Voting Rights Act and its congressional maps. It doesn't have any issue with its legitimacy, just the left attacking it on using baseless slurs. Nobody has an issue with the Supreme Court. The thing that people have issue with legitimacy is Congress. Nobody believes Congress is legitimate. They're all a bunch of millionaires. They got rich off of corruption. So that's the illegitimate institution. And our president, who is not in charge of anything, not doing anything. Nobody knows who's running the country right now. It's certainly not Joe Biden. Here are columns by Ross Douthat on Joe Biden's age and Brett Stevens on Americans' foreign aid efforts. Well, Joe Biden is too old. He is entirely incompetent, and he should not be in office. Period. That was good video. If you haven't seen the River of Wine in Portugal, you should check it out. That was interesting. Wow, somebody returned the Van Gogh, or Van Gogh if you want to be all proper, or Van Gogh if you really want to be proper. Was returning an IKEA bag. Oh, nice. Let's see. Oh, look, out for the season with a torn Achilles tendon, which is what I said. Let's see. The National Book Awards dropped Drew Barrymore as the host after she resumed her daytime talk show despite the strike by television workers. Really? So because she did that, she lost her job? Is that what happened? Okay, Drew Barrymore has been dropped as the host of the National Book Awards, the foundation that presents the prizes, said Tuesday after the actress received a barrage of criticism for deciding to bring back her daytime talk show despite the strike by television writers. National Book Foundation which presents the awards each year. So the statement, the decision was meant to ensure that the focus on the awards remaining on celebrating writers and books. Okay, so yeah, it's not because of the show. Okay, well, I mean because of the show, but it's not the show itself. Okay. Okay, so that takes care of that. So let's do this day in history, September 13th. The highlight today is September 13th, 1971. A 4-day inmates rebellion at the Attica Correctional Facility in western New York ended as police and guards stormed the prison. The ordeal and final assault claimed the lives of 32 inmates and 11 hostages. In 1788, Congress of the Confederation authorized the first national election and declared New York City the temporary national capital. In 1803, Commodore John Barry, considered by many the father of the American Navy, died in Philadelphia. In 1814, during the War of 1812, British naval forces began bombarding Fort McHenry in Baltimore, but were driven back by American defenders in a battle that lasted until the following morning. In 1948, Republican Margaret Chase Smith of Maine was elected to the U.S. Senate. She became the first woman to serve in both houses of Congress. In 1962, Mississippi Governor Ross Barnett rejected the U.S. Supreme Court's order for the University of Mississippi to admit James Meredith, a black student, declaring in a televised address, "We will not drink from the cup of genocide." In 1993, at the White House, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat shook hands after signing an accord granting limited Palestinian autonomy. In 1996, rapper Tupac Shakur died at a Las Vegas hospital 6 days after he was wounded in a drive-by shooting. He was 25. In 1997, a funeral was held in Calcutta, India for Nobel Prize laureate Mother Teresa. In 1998, former Alabama Governor George C. Wallace died in Montgomery at age 79. In 2001, 2 days after the 9/11 terror attacks, the first few jetliners returned to the nation's skies, but several major airports remained closed and others opened only briefly. President George W. Bush visited injured Pentagon workers and said he would carry the nation's prayers to New York. In 2008, revenue crews ventured out to pluck people from their homes in an all-out search for thousands of Texans who had stubbornly stayed behind overnight to face Hurricane Ike. Rescue crews. I said revenue. In 2010, Rafael Nadal beat Novak, I can't say your last name, to win his first U.S. Open title and complete a career Grand Slam. In 2021, school began for about 1 million New York City public school students in the nation's largest experiment of in-person learning during the coronavirus pandemic. In 2022, Ken Starr, a former federal appellate judge and prominent attorney whose criminal investigation of Bill Clinton led to the president's impeachment, died at 76. We got some birthdays. Haven't done this for a while. All right, so September 13th birthdays. Actress Barbara Brain, TV's Mission Impossible, is 92. Actress Elian Fulton, As the World Turns, is 90. Singer David Clayton Thomas of Blood, Sweat, and Tears is 82. Singer Peter Serta, Chicago, is 79. Actress Jacqueline Bisnet is 79. Actor Christian Eastbrook, Mad Men and Desperate Housewives, is 73. Oh, Christine. Actress Christine. Why do they say actor? It's actress. Actress Jean Smart is 72. Singer Randy Jones of The Village People is 71. Record producer, musician Don Was what that was. I'm not sure. Actor Isaiah Whitlock Jr., The Wire and Black Klansman is 69. Actor Jerry Jewell, The Facts of Life, Deadwood, is 67. That's probably a girl. Country singer Bobby Shiner is 62. Singer-guitarist Dave Mustaine of Megadeth is 62. Radio and TV personality Tavis Smiley is 59. Comedian Jeff Ross, Sneaky Pete, is 58. Actor Louis Mandylor, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, is 57. Drummer Steve Perkins of Porno for Pyros and Jane's Addiction is 56. Actor Roger Hogworth, General Hospital, One Life to Live, is 55. Actor Dominic Fumas, Nurse Jackie, is 45. Actor Louis Lombard, CSI, is 53. Guitarist John Don Rooney of Rascal Flatts is 48. Singer Fiona Apple is 46. Guitarist Hector Cervantes of Casting Crows is 43. Actor Ben Savage, Boy Meets World, is 43. Singer Neil Horan is 30. Actor Mitch Holman, Reba, is 28. Actress Lily Reinhart, Riverdale, is 27. That's it.